Alright, it is 12:55 a.m. Saturday morning, and I have been having a very hard time sleeping lately. Something about December, I don't know if it's just because the weather is so bad, like it's been raining for weeks here. I don't know if it's that, but there's just something about this time of year that I struggle with insomnia super bad. And if you see tears going down my face, I'm not crying. I actually have a migraine, and so I have put peppermint oil on my forehead and temples, and so it causes my eyes to tear up, which feels so good. I'm not telling you to do it because it really does burn, and probably not everybody's cool with that, and who knows if other people could tolerate it like I do, but it feels so, 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 so good to me. So, anyway, I've been trying to be more intentional about sharing my life and what it's like on the daily and nightly. Like I said in one of my previous videos, this is a night in the life of me. And so I just feel like because I'm single and I live alone, like nobody really witnesses what life is like for me. And so that makes it more easily for me to be misunderstood or for my vibration to not be felt. I'll tell you what I mean by that here in just a second. So I've decided I need to be very much intentional about the spiritual, metaphysical things that I experience. There is a saying that your vibe attracts your tribe. And so my hope is that I will begin to attract more people into my life who share the same experiences, so that way I can feel better understood. I can feel more embraced and have a sense of belonging, because that's something that I really struggle with. And so I know that whenever you share stuff like this, you make yourself very vulnerable to audience who don't believe in anything metaphysical or spiritual. And you also make yourself vulnerable to other spiritual people who want to invalidate your spiritual experiences. And so I have always carried a great deal of apprehension about sharing my spiritual experiences, because I don't want to be judged and I don't want to be looked at as somehow flaky because of it. But that has to change, because that part of my life is probably the biggest part of me. And so if I'm not out with that, if I don't lead with that, then the people in my life will never ever actually know me. So when I share this, part of me is like, why are you scared to share it? Because I have a Pentecostal background. And so it's not as though the people in my life or my faith context isn't conducive for metaphysical experiences. As part of the Christian faith, it is one of the most conducive branches of Christianity for metaphysical experiences and encounters. So, I don't know, but I think maybe a part of me is like, but maybe people who are like super fundamental would be the ones who would be uncomfortable with it, because I'm here in the South, I'm in Tennessee, and I don't know if maybe that's it. I don't know, whatever the reason. But at any rate, I have decided to be more intentional about it, because as I attract new people into my life, I want that facet of me that is one of the largest facets of who I am as a person. I want that to be present, a present dynamic in all of my relationships. It needs to be seen as, Cozett isn't just a friendly, positive person. She's deeply spiritual, and she has a lot of wild spiritual experiences. And so I just need that to be okay. So I want to talk about my experience with visions. And I can honestly say the first vision that I had was in 2002. And I really didn't know what had happened to me. I felt like I had been plucked up out of the 3D, out of reality, and kind of in this other dimension where I saw things that I didn't understand, but I knew that they had meaning. And it happened so fast and just unanticipated. So honestly, up until just a few years ago, really, I was pretty intentional about invalidating my own experiences, because one, I have very few people in my life, except for my cousin, Margot Holder, who can hold space for me when I talk about this kind of stuff. And so, I think just between that, and the hustle of life, when you are in survival mode, it's very, very hard to be in a place where you're doing shadow work, or you're spending time in meditation and you're taking care of your inner self, because your entire focus is on taking care of survival. So, like, if you are a busy single person who is having a hard time balancing spirituality and practicality, you can relate to what I'm saying there. So, I want to talk about my most recent vision, which was from this morning, and how I'm kind of leaning into these things and trying to prove them, if they have meaning, if they have real life application for me and what they could mean. So, like I said, I've been having a hard time sleeping. It's like insomnia season for me, apparently. And I had a sleep study done on Monday night. And during that sleep study, I didn't think that I fell asleep at all. And my sleep tech even told me, she was like, she said, I never saw it come across. We don't have any data that looks like you ever actually fell asleep. She said, and I need at least 2 hours of you asleep before I can put you over onto a CPAP machine and test you with that. And she said, and you've not even come close to getting to that 2 hour mark. So I was literally awake all night long, just like wide awake. Well, and because of that, today is, well, like I said, Saturday. I've struggled the entire week trying to recover physically from that one night's lack of sleep. Like, it's after 1 a.m. now, and I'm just wired and tired and sleepy. And I've taken Benadryl, and it's just like, I don't know. That's where I'm at. So anyway, earlier today, Friday, I was supposed to have my follow-up appointment for my sleep study with my sleep doctor. And I'm laying in bed awake all night. I was sick all night last night with a migraine. And, as it was approaching daylight, I was like, I'm canceling my appointment. I haven't slept. And there's really no point in me even going, because the tech told me that all they're going to do is they're going to want to schedule another sleep study to give me another shot at doing it. Or maybe they'll allow me to do a home study. But I refused to go back to that sleep center because it was crazy uncomfortable. Like, that was part of the reason I didn't fall asleep, but not the entire reason. But anyway, and I was just set, I'm like, as soon as their office opens, I'm going to call, and I'm just going to cancel, and I'm just going to forget the whole thing, because I'm not going back to the sleep center, and there's really nothing that they can do. Well, as I laid there, I had a vision. And in this vision, I saw, it looked like, if you've ever seen like Hilda art, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Hilda, but she's like this plus size artwork, and kind of campy. It looks like a 1950s pinup kind of a style. So this looked very 1950s-ish. And there was this woman, and standing behind her was her doctor. And her doctor put his hands in front of her eyes like this, and he moved so she could just like he was doing like peekaboo, look and see, like he was revealing something to her, and she went like that, and I heard the word surprise, and then I heard the angels say to me, you really need to go to this appointment. It's very important. You should go. And I was like, all right, you know what? I am crazy exhausted. I'm going to go just for the heck of it, to see if there's anything to this vision, or if this is just, this is giving me an opportunity to prove out, what it was. And so I'm like, okay, so if I go to this appointment and there's some kind of a surprise that I'm not anticipating, then that will let me know that I can give more credibility and begin to explore real life application of these spiritual, metaphysical experiences that I have. So I get to the sleep doctor appointment, and I saw it was actually the physician's assistant that I saw, and she said, she said, I can definitely see that you didn't sleep hardly any at all, but we did have you asleep for right at an hour, and just so long as you sleep any at all, then the sleep study is considered valid, and you don't have to repeat it. And the first words that came to my mind was surprise, because I was so relieved to hear that. And so that was a big surprise for me because it went against what I knew or what I thought. It went against what even the sleep technician told me. And so I was like, okay. And I felt like I kind of got a peek into the future of my sleep quality, because right after that, she and I discussed some things that I want to tweak, because I'm very intentional, and I have been at this point since I was 29 years old, since I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. I'm 43 right now. And so ever since I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, I have been very intentional about sleep hygiene, about trying. I try to stick to a schedule, and I go to therapy. I've been in therapy for a few years now, and that's been really, really good. And I meditate. I'm fairly active. I try to have a good wind down routine. So, I do all the things. But there are, just there's some other things that I don't really want to go into on a video like this that I do want to tweak. And the physician's assistant said, come back in 3 months, and we'll start exploring what your goals are. And I was like, that is great. And so for the first time in a long time, I have more hope, concerning my sleep. So I left the appointment like really glad that I went, because had I not went, I wouldn't have gotten that good news, and I would have carried the weight of, oh, if I ever go back, I'll have to do another sleep test again. Like, that dread would have settled in on me, and it would have prevented me from trying to move forward to a healthier, optimal sleep quality. So I'm so grateful. And I feel like I just need to say, and I know to some people this is not going to resonate. Some people will probably think I'm crazy, but I just want to say that I'm super, super grateful to my angels for relaying that message to me. I'm super grateful that I have this gift, that I have these experiences. So I'm grateful for those things, and I'm grateful that I chose to lean into that rather than disregard it, because had I disregarded it, it would have negatively impacted me. So going forward, and I have these visions pretty much every day. I mean, sometimes I'll go like a week or so, or a few weeks. I don't have like anything out of the ordinary happen. There's no kind of an out of the ordinary experience. But now that I know, and this isn't like this is by far and away not the only vision that I've ever acted on to explore real life application. It's just that I'm beginning to accumulate more of those experiences where I've explored if I can apply those in a real life, that now I'm beginning to trust it, that now I'm beginning to allow that inner voice, my inner voice, to have its rightful place and to not invalidate that. And I think that probably goes back to my childhood too, because growing up, my voice was very, very invalidated. I was constantly shamed for being a thinker. And I was even told by a family member, I was like 17 years old, and I was talking about something that I can't remember exactly what it was, but whatever it was super important to me. And it was an opposing view of my family member that I was talking to. And I'm torn to, I kind of want to say who it was, but I kind of don't. But anyway, a person who held a great deal of sway over me, we'll just say that. A parental figure. So, but I was told, you're not even old enough to have an opinion. And it was meant very seriously. Like, it wasn't just like a playful jab, but it was, your voice is completely invalid because you're not old enough to be smart. And so I feel like those kinds of experiences shape where I'm at now, and they gave me the contrast that I needed to understand how very important my voice is. Because that would have never have been an issue. It would have never have been a point of attack had it not been super important. And so here I am on Cozett Contemplates, contemplating, thinking out loud, giving my opinions, talking about my experiences, hoping that I can encourage others, hoping that I can connect with others who can relate to me. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at with that. So, anyway, let me see. I've been writing in my journal, see if there's anything else I wanted to say. Yeah, so I think that's probably it. But I feel like I am about to come into a season where there's going to be a lot of subconscious matters surface. I feel like I'm kind of on the cusp or the precipice of having a lot of discoveries and surfacing of subconscious issues, subconscious matters that I've not been able to see in my life thus far. Going to be some blind spots that get revealed, I think. And so I feel like all of this is leading to that, because it's going to give me, because I'm also learning in these visions, not only am I learning to see, learning to feel, and learning to hear, I'm learning to interpret those things correctly. And that's going to be super important for when these things come up out of my subconscious for me to address, because our subconscious speaks in symbolism. And I don't know if you're, who all is familiar with this concept by Carl Jung called primordial imagery. Basically, roughly, I would highly encourage you to study this, because this is a complete summary and it does not do justice to his explanation of this. But primordial imagery basically says that from the dawn of humanity until now, until the current day that we're in, that the symbolism and the imagery that our ancestors saw and faced was stored in their subconscious and their conscious to help them understand the world around them, right? So that you have, let's just say, basically like the symbolism of fire. That could mean life. That could mean that you get to cook. That could mean that you get to be warm. Okay, you see the symbolism of rain clouds, and you understand your crops are going to survive. You're going to be hydrated. You're going to be able to bathe and clean. And all of that imagery gets stored back here, the base of our brain, and it is passed on through us. And the feelings that we have surrounding the symbols of life, those feelings about those things, are also passed on epigenetically. So, say for instance, this is just an example. Say, for instance, and I think this is actually true for me. Growing up, when I was little, I remember one of the first encounters I ever had with a snake. And I'm afraid, very much afraid of snakes. I respect them. I know that they are necessary for a healthy ecosystem. So I logically love them and appreciate their contribution to the ecosystem. But I'm scared of them. And when I say I'm scared of them, I'm not the type of person who's scared of them but will still kill them. Like, I'm too scared to even do that. Like, I literally just almost black out. That's how afraid I am of snakes. And so, I remember seeing a snake watching me when I was playing in my mama's yard. And the fear that I felt from that, I was super young. I was probably like 6. And I've always been a thinker. I remember thinking, after feeling that experience of fear, I remember trying to think if I had ever been told to watch out for them. And I just was like wondering why I felt afraid. Well, my dad and my grandmother are both pretty scared of snakes. Now they're not afraid to kill them if they have to. Please don't butcher my family over that, okay? Thank you. But yeah. So I feel like that was an emotion, that was an epigenetic thing that was passed on to me. I didn't even have to be told to fear it. I felt the fear because they felt the fear. And that was part of my makeup. That was part of my genetic disposition, that fear, that phobia. And so I said all that to say this: as these things come up out of my subconscious, and I could be wrong, probably this won't be the only way it happens, but I anticipate that it will be heavily symbolic, and I'm going to see things that I may not immediately understand, because the symbols that I see in my visions, it's usually very hard to draw any kind of an immediate correlation as to what they can mean, what they're about, what situation it applies to. Like, there's a lot that goes into understanding what you're saying, what you're hearing. And so, going through this time of leaning into, and I kind of just want to encourage, whoever listens to this, if you have these same experiences, I want to encourage you to lean into them. Don't be afraid. Seek to understand, because in that you will discover things that will become keys to unlocking an optimal life for yourself and possibly for others, because the visions aren't always, most of the time they will be limited to just your own personal experience, but not always, because different people have different purposes, and the visions that they have will apply to those purposes. Right now, my purpose is getting in touch with the core of me so that I don't self-sabotage the future me. And so, understanding and leaning into these visions is essentially a training ground for me for whenever these other subconscious matters begin to come up and I'm addressing my blind spots. So, I hope that anything that you can take away from this video, I hope it will encourage you to do the same if you understand what I'm talking about, if you have experiences like this too. And hope that you will be encouraged, hope that you'll be empowered and equipped. And I hope that if you've not subscribed to my channel, I hope that you will please subscribe. I hope that you will please like this video and others on my channel that you find resonate with you. I hope that you will share this video. Maybe you have people in your life and you're like, I know someone who, they kind of have experiences like this. They don't really understand it. Or they have experiences like this, but they don't want to listen to me about my encouragement, helping them to understand what they're experiencing. And that's so crazy. Like, we'll listen to other people before we sometimes will listen to those who are actually in our lives. Humans, right? So, yeah, I hope that you guys enjoyed this. And if you did, let me know. Also, want to make you aware of some new businesses that I have going. And I hope that you will support me in these businesses. I am a single woman. I am a single income household. And it's hard. Yeah, I'm not going to go into more details because I'm not willing to be vulnerable about how hard. But if you will check out my online store, it is babylonboho.com. And I am curating a collection of things in that store that just light me up and that have had a positive impact on my journey. Right now, you will find like some custom dream journals, regular journals that you can customize. I have home goods. I have candles. I have gemstones. I have meditation supplies. I have drums, like a tongue drum. Just a lot of really cool things. And I'm going to be adding to it. I will be releasing my first book no later than the end of January 2023. So I will be featuring that in my store. I'm also featuring my new Crunchy Cosmetics skincare business in there. I really want to plug that very, very hard for anyone who is interested in skincare and makeup, because not only are these products non-toxic, which I think sometimes we see those words and just assume it's safe, but in fact it's not. It's basically saying, well, you can have at least this much poison without dying, so it's non-toxic. That's how I see it anyway. But these products are toxin-free and super effective, amazing performance. And so I'll have that in my store. You can also check out my Crunchy website at www.crunchy.com. That's CRUNCHI.com /Cozett Dunn, COZETTDUNN. Lots and lots of amazing products in there for skincare and makeup. And also I do travel agency, and you can check out my travel agent website. One thing I want to say about travel agents is So many people think you're going to pay more if you use a travel agent, and that is simply not true. You will pay probably about the same as you would if you booked all of it yourself. So the cost is essentially the same, sometimes less, and often with many more perks and upgrades for using me as a travel agent. So I want to encourage you, if you want to do some travel, check out my travel site, intellitravel.com/COZETTDUNN. That's www.intellitravel.com. intellitravel.com/Cozett. So yeah, my 3 businesses. BabylonBoho.com for my online store. Crunchy.com/Cozett for toxin-free skincare and cosmetics, not just non-toxic. And travel business, intellitravel.com/Cozett. It will never be said about me that I don't have a work ethic. From the age of 21, I have ran multiple businesses and worked multiple jobs. So, yeah, I hope that you guys will get on board with that and support me with that. And hopefully I can grow my voice on YouTube. Hopefully I can grow my voice on the world stage. That's where my heart's at. Because I know I'm not alone. I know I'm not the only one. And I know that I might be a little bit mystic. And I know that I'm a little bit quirky and weird. And that my online and public persona may not feel the same as if you get to know me in person. I've actually had a few of those comments recently. I write a lot and I'm pretty articulate. I'm told that I'm really eloquent. And I incorporate a lot of astronomy and mythology and a lot of Abrahamic religion terminology in my writings. And so I feel like there might, and this is kind of just me perceiving myself, so take this with a grain of salt, but I feel like maybe my writing has a more sophisticated and mature feel to it. But when you get to know me in person, I have a very childlike feel and a very sort of this little eccentric, quirky person kind of a vibe. And so to look at my writing and then to get to know me, you're like, doesn't really even kind of seem like the same person. But we're all multifaceted. We're multi-dimensional beings. And so, yeah, I think that's so hilarious. It's like an endless source of amusement for me. And it makes me feel like I keep people guessing, which is kind of fun. I think it adds to my mystique, right? Everybody has that. And I think that's, it's just really cool. But, yeah. I'll give one example and then I'm going to wrap this up because it's going long, I know. I have recently made friends with someone new, and she follows my writings, and she came for a visit the other day, and we were talking about mattresses, and I was like, man, I really love my mattress. I was like, I've got a great mattress. Like, I've had it for like 3 years at this point, and I ain't even wallered a hole in it yet. She was like, you haven't what? You haven't wallered a hole in it. I was like, yeah. She said, it's so funny. She said, because when I read your writings, like, I don't picture you as someone saying, wallered a hole in my bed. Surprise! So, yeah, that's where I'm at. Celebrating my weirdness, right? All right, well, I appreciate everyone who watches this. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. And I hope that this video finds you well. Love you all so much. Bye.